you do, friends and family, to today's cooking edition of the Wellness Homesteader. Now, I know most of us who participated in the pantry challenge are well past that. Today is March 5th when I'm filming. No, is it? Yeah. Probably should start over, huh? So even though the pantry challenge formally, with not going to the grocery, etc., has ended, I am still really focused on trying to use up things in my long-term pantry that I will be replacing. Sorry, that's just the cat. In my garden produce, etc., or just things that have been around for a while. So today we are going to make something strange, and y'all are going to go, ooh, and I'm going to tell you it is absolutely delicious. What are we going to make? Well, you have to stay tuned to find out. Today we're going to be making a recipe out of the Fix It and Forget It Big Cookbook. So this is a crock pot cookbook, and it has 1,400 of the best slow cooker recipes. I don't remember whose channel I saw it on. I definitely saw it on YouTube, and I'm like, I must have that. So I went to Amazon, and I will link it, and I purchased it. But let me tell you all a little secret. I have seen it probably 15 times since at different thrift stores and Goodwills. So check there first, or use bookstores like Thrift Books or Abe's Books, because it is so much cheaper at those places than it is to purchase new. So one of the things I like about it is it has a huge variety. All different kinds. It's not just Asian or Italian. It's a mix of American dishes, etc. So I went to my freezer again. Forgot about these. And I had a lot of chicken thighs. Now this recipe technically calls for 3 chicken breasts. Well, I'm gonna have 8 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And one of the reasons I'm going to cook them all is because that's what was in the package. This was a family pack I divided. And y'all, let me wash my hands here. Still talking, still talking. But I would love to freeze some of this because it does freeze very well. I've made this before, and it is just absolutely so delicious. And it's kind of on the festive side. So, hands are washed with soap and water. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on low and let that kind of rock and roll. Dump off this chicken thingy. So, what does it call for? It's really, really strange, y'all. Or it is to me. So, I was going through, what do I have in my fridge that needs to be used? And I have about half of a jar of cranberry sauce, homemade. Smells so good. My word, y'all, I am so sorry. Strangled on my own spit. So I am going to use this. And in my long-term pantry, and I recognize this is upside down, but you open it from the bottom, is a can of Great Value whole berry cranberry sauce. And unfortunately, this does have high fructose corn syrup in it. It was purchased, of course, before I was being as mindful as I should be about items like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and use it. And since we're using a little bit more chicken than the recipe calls for, I think 8 thighs are definitely more than 3 breasts. So it's like a recipe and a quarter. I am going to go ahead and use both the half jar of homemade, hi Frank, and the full can, which, okay. You want to say hi to the people? Okay, you haven't been on for a while. Here. Oh, can you say hello? Can you say hello? I think the answer to that is no. So it calls for the cranberry sauce, 1 can. It says 16 ounces, an envelope of Lipton onion soup mix, which I happen to have, and it calls for an 8-ounce bottle of Catalina or French, sorry guys, dressing. Hiccup twice, and then we'll get ready. So let me wash my hands since I picked up the cat. I do not have any French dressing, but you know what? You can make it homemade. It's very inexpensive, and I can control the ingredients without adding sugar or high fructose corn syrup or corn syrup in general. So let me wash my hands. We'll get making some Catalina dressing. Good grief. So I went on allrecipes.com, and this is homemade Catalina dressing, and it calls for the first ingredient, 1/2 cup of white sugar. So a lot of salad dressings contain soybean oil, rapeseed oil, a lot of preservatives, high fructose corn syrup, or regular sugar. So I'm going to be using stevia cup for cup, and I'm putting this into a blender. You could use a food processor as well. The second ingredient is 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar. Little food there. And y'all, I went to get my red wine vinegar, and this is the situation. But I have some homemade blackberry vinegar, so we're going to use that instead. To me, it has much, it doesn't taste like blackberries, but it has much the flavor of a red wine-ish vinegar. Oh, y'all know I can't have everything out. When I'm cooking just for me and not for the channel, a lot of times I don't measure anything. I eyeball everything. But since I have not made this dressing before, I thought perhaps we should follow the directions. So let's do, did I say 1/4? Oh goodness, no, 1/2. And this actually will probably make a little more than 8 ounces, and that's good because we're using a little more of the chicken. The next ingredient it calls for is 1/2 cup of canola. And y'all know I don't use canola. You could use any neutral oil like a non-extra virgin olive oil. You could use what I'm using, and that is the organic avocado oil from Asher Standard. So we're gonna put that in. So this is so far much like an oil and vinegar. Now it calls for a 1/4 cup of ketchup. So I am actually going to be using my homemade fermented ketchup, and not my original recipe. Got this from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, but it is so good, so flavorful. So let's put that in. And now we're going to spice it up. So it calls for a teaspoon of smoked paprika. So I'm going to eyeball this, y'all. If you don't have smoked paprika, you could use regular, but I think that the smoked really adds to. 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. That reminds me, today is the closing date for Azure Standard, and I need some more granulated onion. Why did I put that in the cup? Well, that's all right. It'll force me to scrape this cup out a little better. There we go. Now, it calls for 1/2 teaspoon of dried celery flakes. I don't have that, but I do have some celery seed. So I'm going to do, not nearly that much. About 1/4 teaspoon. I don't want it overly celery. And then the final ingredient is a half teaspoon, might need to run the vacuum, of salt-free, and it says Italian flavored like Mrs. Dash. Well, this is garlic and herb, but it's what I have. So I'll spare your ears, y'all. We get this rolled up, and we'll do a taste test and decide what does it need. So stay tuned. I blended this for about a minute. It smells just like store-bought, but let's taste it. Oh, that's sweet, but it's really good. Honestly, y'all, I think it needs a touch more vinegar, you know, as compared to store-bought. Clean tasting spoon. Let me mix this up. And I just did it for about a minute, you know, until it kind of emulsifies the oil and vinegar. Clean spoon. Is it? Yeah. Put the other one in the sink. Let's give it another taste. Perfect. It definitely needed that little bit of acidity. One of the things I am finding, y'all, is with using stevia, which was not my normal routine, and not eating processed sweets anymore, things taste extra sweet to me. So just taste your offering before you actually add it to the chicken. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to mix out the cranberry sauce into a bowl. And I want to show you the difference between, and this does have sugar in it, but home canned using fresh cranberries. Whoops, let the big clop in there. And the store brand, because there is a difference. Now this says it's whole berry, but it's going to come out like, just look at the color difference. So when people say, why don't you just buy it at the store? And I'm not talking about y'all, but I do have people that say, why do you go to all that trouble? Well, number one, I have the time to. Number two, I feel that it benefits my health. And number three, it tastes better. So in goes our envelope of Lipton onion soup mix. Now, before y'all holler at me about it, I fully recognize that this has probably additives, preservatives, and everything else in it. And we're going to put our Catalina on top. I may not do all of it. Let me see what this looks like. However, that's what I had on hand. And I've shared before, I'm not 100% on, you know, everything must be made from scratch. Simply because it isn't super practical for me. We're just going to use all of it. Guys, there wasn't that much more. So, this looks so good and it smells really good. So everything in here is fully cooked, so to speak. So let's just give a taste to how it tastes all mixed together. Y'all, I know you're probably thinking that is the weirdest combo ever, but it is absolutely delicious. So next thing we're gonna do, before we clean up this huge mess that I've made, is we're just gonna put this on top of our chicken in the crock pot. I have my crock pot on low, and we are going to set it, it says 6 to 8 hours. Now, if this was bone in, it probably would take the 8, but being boneless, it may be ready in 6. So, lid on. And now all we do is wait. And that's one of the beauties of having a slow cooker or even a sun oven. It's still too cold yet. Pardon me. Sun's too low in the sky for me to feel comfortable cooking meat in the sun oven. And that's just a me thing. I feel a lot safer using the crock pot. All right, guys, I will see you in a few hours, maybe with a couple updates, and then we're going to do a taste test. This is really good over mashed potatoes, rice, whatever it is that you happen to enjoy as your start. All right, see you soon. So our chicken cranberry onion French dressing has been cooking away for about 4.5 hours. So I am going to make some rice in the Instant Pot. So I have had this with homemade mashed potatoes. I've also had it with rice. You could also do noodles. You could do couscous, whatever your fancy is. I don't like this angle so much, y'all. Squeeze 4 corners together. I can never get these Thrive Market organic chicken bone broth things open. I just whack them with the scissors. So one thing I have learned, I don't know if I shared this earlier, that was my last homemade cranberry sauce, and I use it in a variety of ways. So I'm out of that, and I only have quarts of chicken broth. So I think the next time I do chicken broth, I'm gonna do some pints, so some 1 cups, some half pints, as well as some pints. So this is 2 cups of chicken broth. Let me make sure, yes. And Instant Pot makes it so easy, y'all. So I've rinsed my rice very well till the water runs clear. You simply add in your rice. And the Instant Pot is preset to cook your rice. Brown rice takes about 15 minutes. I also used up all my brown rice. This is jasmine rice, which I'm actually not overloaded on either, but I am going to get through. I have some white and some jasmine before I order any more through Azure. So I got some rice on the side of the pot. Put on your lid. Now, y'all, I broke my several-year-old Instant Pot. I dropped it, and it would no longer work. So this is the newer version, so it's digital. I like it. It's just a little different. So instead of having the flippy-dippy thing back here, it has this cover and it catches the water, but the seal and the vent is up on top with a switch. And I'm just going to push rice. It's going to say white rice, low pressure, 12 minutes, push start. And that's all you have to do. Now it takes, of course, longer than that because you have to wait for the rice to come up to temperature, it to pressure for 12 minutes. But I will bring you back. I'm making 2 cups of rice, which is going to be like a huge amount of rice, because I am going to freeze this in some individual freezer containers over here. See, I hate this angle. Because I know I'm not going to be able to eat all this and I will get tired of it, but this makes a great freezer meal. And then you can just add a veg or a side salad or whatever you would like. So I will see you all in a few minutes. Well, a second for you. And we will do a taste test. All right, stay tuned. All right, y'all, some perfectly done fluffy rice. It took about 25 minutes with the heat up and the cool down. This chicken looks, sorry guys, I'm having some hair failure. Looks utterly and absolutely amazing. So let's grab a beautifully done chicken breast. And some of our delicious sauce to go over our rice. And how yum does that look? All right, let me do a thumbnail. We'll do a taste test. And then I'm going to sign off for today because I know my Tuesday video was kind of long. All right, guys, hold on. Ready for the taste test. It's so tender that I don't even need a knife. It is screaming hot though, so. A little rice, a little sauce. See the steam? Can you see the steam? I don't know. I like my hot food hot. I added no salt to this because the Lipton onion soup mix did have salt in it. As weird as it sounds, it is absolutely delicious. The cranberry comes through, the tang, the vinegar part of the dressing, and then that back note of onion. The chicken is beautifully tender. This is a yummy dish any time of the year, really. Really simple to do, y'all. If you're having company or you need to take a meal to someone, this is a good one. And I'm yet to find someone who doesn't like it, even if they say, well, I don't like cranberries. It's not so cranberry forward. It adds a tiny bit of sweetness to it as well. So if you have made it this far, if you'd do me a big favor, go ahead and smash that like button. Leave me a comment below. Is this too weird for you, or would you give it a try? And I would also like to know, maybe you've made it before, do you have a different thing you like to put it on, like a noodle or some other carb foundation for the chicken? I love it with rice, and it freezes so well with rice is why I chose rice today. All right, guys, Lord willing, I will see you Saturday. We're having a little bit of thunderstorms going through, so I'm a little bit nervous today. But, you know, I'm sure everything will be just fine. No dramatically bad weather is forecast. So until I see you again, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.